What's up, everyone? All right, well, here we are, second to last day of 2019, and I can't say I blew up my account again today. I did on Friday, no doubt about it. I made $19,000 on Friday with a $19,000 balance in the account. Out of control. So this morning I came in with over $38,000 in my account, and so to have a blow up, I would have had to make $38,000. I would have had to double the account in one day. I didn't come anywhere close. I'm up 15 grand, $15,000. So that means this small account tomorrow is gonna be over $50,000, halfway to 100 grand. And that's in 16 days of trading, 16 trading days. Now, today is the first day that I came really close to hitting my max loss. I had 2 red trades in a row and I was down over $2,500. And off those lows, I turned around and started moving back up. I had 1 good trade and it cut my loss in half. So I was down about $1,200 on the day. I had another trade and that put me to green on the day. A couple more, now I started to build a cushion, and then I had 1 big trade on an IPO stock. Very unusual, but got into an IPO stock and made $10,000 in the first breakout as it squeezed from 7, 8, 9, 10, hit a high of $11, and I walked away with $15,000 of profit. An awesome start to the week. All right, now obviously tomorrow's the last day of 2019. It's the last day of the decade, last day of the year, and I'll try to get as much as I can and just finish this year with hopefully 1 more green day. All right, as always, questions, comments, leave them right down below. If you guys have not already gotten my Christmas gift, I'll have a link right in the description, also pinned it to the comments, of my Christmas and New Year's gift to you guys, which is a copy of my book, How to Day Trade. All right, now what I ended up doing, some of you guys tuned in yesterday, I challenged myself to see if I could start a fire with no paper and only 1 match. And if I would successfully have done it, I agreed that I would give everyone that had downloaded the copy of the book also a free video lesson from the Warrior Pro classes. Of course I did it. I lit the fire and I did it with 1 match and no paper. And so if you click that link below, you'll get a copy of the book and a free video lesson from the Warrior Pro classes. All right, so enjoy that, and I will see you guys, as always, first thing tomorrow morning. All right, you guys, so, well, this is where things stand right now. I'm done for the day, up $15,000. You know, I thought today was gonna be a red day. I really did. And we're gonna start from the beginning of the day. The 2 stocks that were on my watch list this morning, SVRA and SLGL. I made 500 on SVRA and I lost almost 3,000 on SLGL, which put me at about 940, down over $2,500 on the day. And I was like, guys, I'm getting real close to my max loss, right? This is not looking good. So this has been the first day that I was red before I started to go green in quite a while. And I'm just gonna put my metrics up here for the month of, this is the month of December. So Friday obviously kind of creates a little bit of a blowout. I was red on my second day, I lost like 20 bucks. And then I was red on the 12th of December and I lost $348. So that was the last time that I had a red day. So I've had a green streak now of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green days in a row. But then today I started by going into the red. So let's look at the gap scanner from this morning, kind of talk about those first few trades and talk about why, even after being down over $2,500, I decided to keep trading instead of walk away. Now that was a turnaround of over $17,000 from the low to my high. That's a huge turnaround. I mean, it really is, quite something. So, and many other traders, even me on another day, might have walked away down 2,500 and said, you know what, I'm throwing in the towel. I'll live to trade another day. But today I kept trading. So why was that? Well, let's start by looking at the gap scanner. So I've got my gap scan here. I'm gonna do historical date and time, run this scan for 9:20 a.m. So at 9:20 a.m., the two stocks that were on the top of the gap scanner, SVRA and SLGL. Now, SVRA was up 138%, which is, I mean, that's a pretty impressive gap. So this thing was really gapping up big time. And I was looking at it on the daily chart as potentially having quite a bit of room. This is a, another one of these biotech kind of pharmaceutical companies. It has a breakthrough therapy designation from the FDA, which is great. Pre-market, it had already squeezed from 2 to 250. It pulled back for a moment at 250 and then ripped up to 3. Pulled back at 350, popped up, pulled back again, and then ripped up to $4.30. Pre-market high was $4.30. The bell rings, and my bias on this was I want to get long. Let me switch this to a 1 minute chart. I want to get long on a break over the pre-market high of 430. So those of you guys watching on YouTube and in the chat room, you're able to see my chart. So this was our pre-market high right here at 430. The bell rang, I jumped in right here. It squeezed up to a high of 487, but I didn't take big share size. And so on that breakout, I made only $506. I was a little cautious on it because the float is 34 million shares and already had almost 6 million shares of volume pre-market. So it's pretty crowded. However, when we look at the 5 minute chart, and now I'll just flip this to the daily chart, what you'll notice is that this stock had a lot of room up until 1037, and that's called gap fill. So this day back here in June, the stock dropped from 1037 to a low the next day of $2.55. So now it creates that big window on the chart, and as it starts to curl back up, that's where I saw this opportunity. So, whatever, took a trade on that, made $500, but it didn't really work out as well as I hoped. And as you can see, it ended up coming back down to 420, 410, and then flushing here on this break on high volume. And from there, it's just gone downhill. So that was disappointing. SLGL was the second stock I was watching. And this one, I'll say that I might have had a little bit of a bias on it. For two reasons. Number one, the stock at all-time highs. Number two, the last few times I've traded a stock in this price range, I've done really well, like LMPX, right, and ITCI. And so I thought, okay, this is another biotech type of stock. It's gapping up over 100% with a 4.79 million share float. It's got a news catalyst. I'm liking this thing for a break over 20 and a rip here up through 22. And then 23, 24, and then the pre-market high was 26, and then it's all-time highs. So I stepped up to the plate on this one. I did get pretty aggressive. I jumped into it with 3,000 shares right here. All right, so, and let me pull up this, this trade for you real quick. All right, so it was, let's see, where's this? I think I have it here. Let me just double check. Yeah. All right, so let's see. So let me just jump forward to this. All right, so I've got my profit there on SVRA, and now what we're looking at here is SLGL. All right, so let me just move this a little bit further forward. So SLGL, kind of going sideways, whatever. So it starts to rip up right here. All of a sudden I see it starting to rip up, and I punch the order. And to me, with all that green, it looked like it was about to break over $20. Now, my thinking on it was that if this thing breaks 20, it'll rip up to $21 right here. And then we're going to go right to 22, 23, 24. And I'm going to be selling this thing up here around 24, 25, 26. So my back of mind target was making $2 to $3 per share. All right, so I'm in it. I jump in, and it doesn't break over. I add there for the break at 20, but it doesn't break over 20. And now you can see there's a pretty large spread. I took the trade in my big account as well. I got in my big account for the break of 20. You can see there's the seller at 20. It goes 20.01, 20.30. Okay, we're going in the right direction. This is looking good. Obviously, I'm in with pretty big share size, but LMPX and several others like it, I've traded and done quite well on. So I was thinking, you know, I'm going to step up to the plate on this, and I think I'll be able to do okay on. All right, so it rips up here, and then I started to get, you know, a little bit nervous. I put an order out to take a little profit. That order does not fill at all. I'm nervous because the spread at this very moment is a full dollar per share. Meaning if I sell on the ask, I'm up 50 cents. And if I sell on the bid, I'm down 50 cents. So I need to get out in between the spread. I'm not able to get out of any of the order. And so I'm kind of holding it through this pullback, and I'm like, all right, this isn't ideal. And then I'm gonna end up hitting the bid. Let's see, it'll be, and you can see the slippage when I do hit the bid. I kind of hold through this pullback. I'm like, all right, well, I'm in it now. So I end up holding it for a little while. And then right there, look at that drop. Oh God, this is the stuff that nightmares are made of for day traders. Okay, so 880, I see the red and I'm like, all right, I gotta bail. I hit the bailout button at 879. I only get a partial fill. I have to press it again. And then I press it again and I'm out at 856. All right, so I eat the loss. It drops here. As you can see, it's gonna drop down all the way to 1650. It goes to 1525. And in fact, the stock really never recovered. So that was a really disappointing way to start the day. And at that point, you know, you can see in my account, I'm down after I lock up that trade. Let's see, what is it? 2,600. All right, so I'm down 2,600 bucks. You know, I'm deep in the red, and this is the biggest red day by far that I've had in the small account. And at that point, I said, okay, well, I've now taken 2 red trades in a row because I took the last trade on SVRA was a small red trade. Granted, it was a very small red trade because at my peak, I'll just show you here. So I'm up $506.47, and I was up $507.47. So I'm not gonna, you know, again, like that's only $1, but at the same time, it's a loss. Rules are rules. And I've said if I take 3 losses back to back, I'm done trading. And so at that point, I had 2 losses back to back, and I was thinking, all right, well, what's my max loss on the day? My max loss on the day is losing 10% of my account. If I lose 10% of my account in one day, I'm done. So that means my max loss is $3,800. Obviously, you don't grow an account from 500 to 50,000 without taking risk. Risking 10% of my account every single day is how I've been able to grow this account as quickly as I have. You know, and so I was within the, I wasn't below my max loss. I was down 2,600. But I said, and I said this out loud, I said, you know, guys, it's not worth taking another trade if the market's not high. I don't need to lose money just for the sake of losing money. I don't need to hit my max loss just to say, well, I'm locked out of my account. I'm only going to take a trade if I see something that looks good. And so I kind of cooled off for a few minutes, and I took a breath and I said, all right, you know, whatever. I'm down 2,500 bucks, 2,600. It's been a great month. You know, let's not have a blow up day. Let's not do anything crazy. You don't need to be a hero and try to swing for a Hail Mary pass. Let's just sit tight. So I sat tight, and this was around 9:40 or something like that. And all of a sudden, PYX starts to pop up. Now, what's interesting about PYX is that it was a stock that I was watching on Friday, and it had a really nice, I'll switch back to a 5-minute chart, had a really nice breakout on Friday. On Friday, the stock goes right here. I said, guys, keep this thing on watch. It's consolidating right here over 8, looks really good for a break over the high day of 820, and it ended up doing a really nice breakout. Obviously, it didn't hold that level, but then this morning it did a little red to green. That's the move that I thought SLGL was gonna do, but SLGL did not. This one did it. It squeezes up and it gets halted at $8.95. And I said, you know, guys, I can't as it squeezed up right there, I was like, I can't just jump into this right now. You know, I'm already red on the day by quite a bit. I need to wait for a good setup. So it resumes from the halt, as you can see right here, and it pops up from 90. It opens a little low, and I said, okay, if it breaks over 895, that's where I'm gonna get in. 895. I put my 795. I put my order at 8. It breaks 795. No, 895. 895. It breaks 895. I press the buy button and I get in. It pops up to 915. All right. I sell. I think I had 2,000 shares. I sold all but 500. It drops down here for a second. It then pops back up, and over 14, I added back another 2,000 shares. So I added back right here, and it goes from 914 all the way up to 973. So I made 1,500 bucks. Nice. Trading a micro pullback on a stock coming out of a halt. So that was a really solid setup. I felt really good about that. And that cut my loss, by $1,500. So I went from being down $2,600 to down only about $1,100 on the day. So I'm moving in the right direction. And I kind of thought, okay, well, if that's all for today, then hey, at least I was able to, take a little off the loss. All right, so that was PYX. Hit the scanner, got halted, and squeezed higher. That set the tone for the rest of the day. Next stock is Quick, QUIK. It hits the scanner, I pull up the chart, I look at it, and what do I see? It's a recent reverse split right down here. We know reverse splits, when they start to pop up, they often move really quickly. The 200 moving average is at $7, and so I looked at that and thought, this is a long setup with a target of 7. It squeezes up. I jump in it as it's surging up. This one I was a little more aggressive on than PYX, but I was more aggressive on it because PYX worked so well. And this is a very similar setup. So I took a starter. I then added on it going into the halt. It gets halted. It resumes higher. I add coming out of the halt, and it squeezes up to a high of 662. On that trade, I made $1,928. And so just like that, I went from being red on the day to being green. And I was like, all right, now we're seeing some momentum. Next stock to hit the scanner is Seed. Seed hits the scanner. I do the same thing that I did on PYX and Quick. I jumped into it. I jumped into it with about a 10-cent stop. A pretty tight stop. It's kind of like jumping into something that's moving quickly, but I jumped in. And that was right here. It hit 595 on that candle. And then on this candle I got in as it broke over 6. It hit a high of $6.70. I made $1,000 on that. I didn't take as big of share size because the volume was a little lighter. And it didn't really give another opportunity. It kind of pulled back after that. I mean, it did sort of hold up for a little while, but in any case, this one may end up having potential tomorrow if it closes above 6. So that was Seed. Then SAVA. This is one that I've traded a couple of times. Let's see. I got to just type this in here. SA and then VA. There we go. All right, so SAVA, I took a quick trade on this right here as I thought it was gonna break over 7 and then retest high a day. It didn't, but I made $159 on it, a small profit. Okay, fine. So at that point right there, I had gone from down 2,500 to down 1,100, then to up 1,100, and then to up 2,000 and $2,200. So I was now up $2,200. And that's when MKD IPO'd. It was an IPO on MKD. The stock IPOs, it hits a high of 690. All right, so let's look at this. And this is one of the most, it's honestly a very unattractive chart at this point. It's kind of insane. But anyways, let's look at this for a second. So it IPOs, and as it breaks over the IPO high of 7, which is kind of a 1-minute opening range breakout, I jumped in for that squeeze. I jumped in at 7 and added at 750 into a circuit breaker halt at 770. It resumes, it dips down for a second, hits a high of 850, dips down, and then right here, I added. I added as it surges up here to a high of 1190. Now, in this trade, let's break this down using a 10-second chart so you can see this in a little bit more detail. All right, so let's zoom in here, right in here. Okay, so the stock squeezes up from 695 up to 7. It hits a high of 849 and then drops here down to 775. So it dropped down and I got a little nervous there, no doubt about it. It pops back up here to 830. I'm taking profit out. All right, so I'm easing my position, I'm scaling out, and I'm thinking, you know, if it breaks back over 849, 850, I'll get back in. But right now I'm worried that if it breaks below 775, it's gonna flush back down. And these ones are very volatile. So I said, you know what, I better just take a little profit. So I took some profit off the table. And then I got back in right here as it broke over 850. It hits a high of 862. It pulls back. It then squeezes up, 874, 880. I'm adding as it's surging up, and it gets halted at 934. It then resumes out of the halt, hits a high of 1034. It drops down. I take my profit. And then as it surges back up, I get in as it breaks over the high of 1034. Breaks over the high of 1034 right here, and I add back, and right here it surges all the way up to 1128, and gets halted. It then resumes and hits a high of 1190. At this point, I'm still holding 325 shares. It then drops and halts going down. It halts at 1017. It ends up being halted from 1122 until 1147. So a 25-minute long halt, a really long halt, 30-minute long halt actually. And then it resumes down here all the way at 756, which is one of the biggest drops I've seen on a stock of this price range. I'm still holding 300 shares. And so it resumes, and right away, I added 3,000 shares. I added 3,000 shares right here. And as it squeezes from 780 to 8 to 830, 840, 850, 867, I took my profit. So I lost on these 300, but then I made back on these 3,000 enough to basically be flat between the two trades. So that's the way it sometimes goes. And from here, it's just continued to sell off, which is very surprising because IPO stocks, usually there are no shares available to borrow. Usually insiders are not able to sell their shares on the open market. And so what you have is a very limited amount of selling and generally a pretty high amount of buying. In this case, what you see is that sellers were able to dominate the stock as it's actually coming lower than the initial IPO price and going to all-time lows. So there are more people selling than buying. And that means clearly there are some shares available to borrow, and to what extent insiders are able to sell shares, I'm not really sure. It's definitely possible that someone was holding shares from early on and kind of thinking, okay, I'm going to hold this for a huge move and let's just see how far it goes. And then when it halted going down, you know, they decide to put out an order to sell, maybe don't understand halts and were like, why is my order not going through? So now there's a big order at the market, a sell order, and now on resumption, the market has to match up buy orders. And as a recent IPO stock, there's not a lot of buy or sell orders, and so it ends up gapping lower. And then that obviously shakes out a lot of traders. So I'm disappointed. If this had ended up holding this $10 level, I think that we would have had a really good chance of having a secondary move back up towards 12, 13, 14, and maybe even higher. And you refer back to LMPX, an IPO stock from $5 all the way up to $45. So that was why I had a little more conviction in it and made more money because I was a little more aggressive on my share size. ITCI, another kind of similar setup. Somewhat recent IPO, and all of a sudden breaks out all-time highs, goes from $20 up to $43. So that's what I kind of thought might happen on this, being in the right sector, but that didn't end up being the case. In any event, I was able to do well on it, getting in for breakouts, taking profit, getting back in, et cetera, et cetera. And this is a day where the account's up, I guess 30, 40%, which is really solid account growth. I mean, I didn't think that I was going to get this far in this challenge this quickly. My goal last week was that if I could turn $500 into $25,000 by the end of the month, that would be really awesome. It would be, I would have achieved, getting enough money to open an account above the PDT level. And then all of a sudden in one day, I went from 19,000 with a goal of making 6,000 by the end of, tomorrow, to making 19,000 in one day. And just like that, my account was at 38 grand. Another big day today, 15,000. Now my account's going to be at $53,000. So I have one more day in the challenge tomorrow, last day of the month. And at this point, I am pretty content on making this just a 1 month challenge and, starting over in January. I don't think I'm going to start on Thursday, January 1st or January 2nd, only because I don't really want to start an account on a Thursday. I think I might trade in my regular account on Thursday and Friday, and then trade in the CMEG account starting Monday the 6th or something like that. But in any case, whatever I'm able to make tomorrow will just add some icing to the cake, and it's been a really, a great hot streak. Unfortunately today, in my large account, I hit my max loss both in my small account, or both in my main large account and in my retirement account. I hit my max loss on PYX. In my main account, I was down $1,054. So I'm down at $1,054, and because of that, I was not able to take any trades on MKD in that account. And my max loss, it says $1,000. So if I'm down more than 1,000, I'm done for the day. The retirement account, I hit max loss on SLGL. And so because those two accounts were locked up, I wasn't able to take any trades on MKD. And it is disappointing because I do feel that if I had gone ahead and taken trades on MKD, that I would have made money in my big account. But whatever. You have to draw the line in the sand somewhere, and the place that I've had that line has been at $1,000 max loss. So today I traded past the $1,000 max loss in this account, but that's because I've been using a different risk measurement system. If I used 10% in my big account, I'd be risking a lot more every day, and I don't really want to do that in an account that large. So it is what it is. But in any case, despite feeling a little FOMO and a little disappointment that I didn't do well over there, I did well in the small account, and this really is the one that's been the focus. Today's a good example of a day where the only trade that I probably would have done really well on in the big account was MKD, because this is the one that had the biggest move. If I had gotten in both this account and my big account at 750, and just sat back and let it ride, I would have made dollars per share. None of the other stocks really held up that well. Obviously SLGL did a terrible false breakout, and so I got stopped out on that pretty badly. And PYX didn't hold its levels, so I stopped out on that. What I need really are stocks to have really strong continuation, not just one pop and then fade. They need to hold that level, because in the small account, while I may be able to capitalize on a quick breakout off the scanners that doesn't end up holding, or even profit on a false breakout because I sell half and then sell the rest at break even, I'm not able to do that in two accounts at the same time. So this account is much more nimble and able to move quickly. And then my big account, I get in, and now I'm focusing more on it's got to work on the 5-minute time frame. And because I just can't focus on two accounts with the same level of attention. This one, small account, is priority. My goal has been to trade in the big account just to try to also make some decent profit this month, which I have in my main account, and in my retirement account I haven't done as well this month. But that, that's the way it goes. In any case, this has been the focus, and trying to trade in 3 accounts at once, it's to be expected that there will be some challenges in doing that, and so I've faced those. And I guess the question is, net, have I made more money because I've traded in 3 accounts this month? And the answer is yes. So, net, it's been the right decision. anyways, that's it for me. I hope you guys all have a really great rest of the day, and I'll be back at it first thing tomorrow morning. Hopefully we see some good stocks on the scanners, and we can have a really good finish to 2019. All right, I'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. Bye, everyone. Hey, did you know that I go live every single morning between 9 and 9:15 to stream my pre-market watch list? Subscribe to the channel, press the bell for the alert, and you'll get the notification.